this morning. All right, let's welcome in Mr. Sreesankar, who's joining us as well to take us through his strategies going ahead. Sri, first up, I want to just ask you on in terms of levels that you're watching out for, because it's really the market range that everyone's focusing on at the moment. Given that we've not really been able to hold on to the higher levels, but at the same time the downside seems capped. What's your opinion?
So we for a long period of time, for a few months, had a trading range between around 8,100 to around 9,200 levels. In our last strategy report in March, beginning of March, we have revised that to 8,200 to 9,300. So we still believe that the market will be much more of range bound. There is nothing which has come about post the budget in terms of big bang announcements to take it beyond 9,300, or there is nothing negative which has happened in the budget, or anything which has transpired globally to push it down to less than 8,200. And so we believe that the market will be much more of a moving in a range, and this is, for the time being, looks like the near term range between which it will trade.
Sure. Let's talk about some of the themes out here then, Sri, because the pharma pack, clearly that's been the big outperformer. I was just looking at some stats in this correction. Also, you got some of the frontline large caps like Sun Pharma, Lupin actually managed to hold out and see some good gains as well. What are your thoughts when we talk about some of the large cap pharma names? Is that something that's on your radar?
It has been on the radar, and in fact, the kind of an outperformance that some these names that you have mentioned actually is more than what even we have anticipated. So while we have had a neutral stance on the sector has clearly outperformed big time.
Okay. Sri, what's your view on telecom? I mean, we've got the spectrum auctions nearing a close. We've had heightened activity, Bharti, Idea, Arcom, all in focus for different reasons. Data back as well coming in there. What would be your call? Would you take another look at this point of time?
I would rather wait for the entire auction process to be over. Then we need to sit and assess who has to go pay, what is the kind of cash outflow a lot of these companies are going to have, what the benefit these companies are going to have. So I don't think it's going to be immediate, short term. See, we need to wait and assess this. So my best estimate is it's going to take some more time. So if one looks at even the performance of these telecom companies, it is reflecting the thought process as well, that people are probably waiting to see the full impact of these auctions and the bids going to have on the cash flows of these companies before coming out with a thought process.
The other interesting space has been the auto pack. Once again, two-wheelers are taking it a little slow. You got Bajaj Auto seeing a little bit of a cut, but Tata Motors up almost 1.2, 1.3% is what we're seeing. Any thoughts here, Ashri, when we talk about the auto pack? Anything that you're working with in this sector?
Clearly from the auto pack, the two-wheeler segment, especially the motorcycle segment, have taken a correction in terms of a slight slowdown in terms of numbers. So I think we need to put this in perspective, see that why this is happening, to what extent it will happen, etc. Auto pack, especially the motorcycles, had first quarter was quite good, second quarter so-so, but as things progressed, again large amount of rural focus on for the two-wheelers, especially the motorcycles. I don't think things have been very good in the rural side, be it in terms of good rains or be it in terms of unseasonal rains, probably the yields not being good in terms of agricultural produce. So we expect some kind of a slowdown happening in that side. And while at the same time you look at medium and commercial vehicle segment, which is coming after a slowdown for a couple of years, is seeing good growth. So look at the performance of somebody like Ashok Leyland, more of a play on a medium and commercial vehicles, because in Tata Motors you have cars, passenger cars as well, and JLR as well. So if you look at the performance, clearly the MNHCVs have been a great success story. And so you are really seeing the effect of it. Second is the benefit. I think the uncertainty over the coal auctions or the mining, etc., is coming to an end. As and when it comes to an end, you expect to see more improved offtake for these MNHCVs, etc., and that should also start building in. So clearly there is a shift from the two-wheelers to MNHCVs in terms of performance per se, not in terms of numbers of two-wheelers or motorcycles are much higher, but clearly a shift in performance is seen in this segment.
And the other, since you mentioned about coal auction, Sri, I just want to ask you one thought here as far as what we picked up yesterday from the government as well, where they've actually allocated almost 38 to 43 odd blocks to the PSU itself, NTPC being one who's actually managed to gain quite a bit in terms of those coal blocks. How do you believe this will really play out for the sector? Because, to a certain extent, the coal auctions also have been fairly successful for at least some of these companies. Do you believe that the power sector will once again start getting a little active? Is that something investors can start looking at?
I think it's too early to make a comment on it, because we need to look at some of these blocks which probably have been allotted to somebody else or won by somebody else, or etc. Let's go back and revisit these entire blocks, and we also need to see the offtake from NTPC, etc. And what is going to be the impact. So it's too early to comment on immediately that 38 blocks or anything that announcement has come about.
Well, it's looking good in the mid-cap space, Sri. Let me just point out some stocks that are moving today. SR Oil is up on executing its supply contract with Rosneft. We've got some of those shipping and port stocks that are constantly buzzing. P-Power, for example, back in action this morning. What's your take when it comes to the mid-cap space and some of these counters?
See, some of these counters we don't actively cover, but my thought process on the mid-cap space is again reflecting from the same as for the large-cap space. I think it's going to be in sectors and individual stocks specifically which will be moving around, going to be in demand. There is clearly a headwind which we are facing in terms of rural consumption, as well as slowdown in terms of government spending. We understand from our channel checks that probably the cement offtake in Q4 is probably lower than what is in Q3, and that is something which never happens. So to that extent, the kind of an impact that you are going to see in earnings in Q4 is going to be much more severe. We ourselves have actually seen our analysts reducing the Q4 estimates for many companies, in the sectors as well. So you'll actually see probably Q4 not being very good in terms of performance. That, in my view, should reflect in mid-caps also. Mid-caps probably will get impacted more in terms of stock price performance than large caps because of these.
All right, Sri, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for stopping by today with your thoughts and perspective on the markets. All right, Sreesankar there with his view and strategy. Talking about the markets, our broader markets are a little slow today.